This video will talk about 1.1 Objective 6, where we apply the 5 basic steps in a statistical study. Let's look at problem number 1. A researcher wants to determine the percentage given below, determine how the researcher should apply the 5 basic steps in a statistical study. Assume that all the people in the poll answered truthfully. It's interested in finding the percentage of male college students who play chess at least once per week. So let's determine how to apply the first basic step in the statistical study in this situation. Let's choose the correct answer below. So we need to figure out what it is that's our objective here, and we want to know the population is all male college students, and the researcher wants to estimate the percentage in this population that plays chess at least once per week. Right, so that's D. Now let's determine how to apply the second basic step in the statistical study, where we want to gather our data, right? So the researcher should gather data about playing chess at least once per week from the largest sample of male college students from which the researcher can gather data. So that's B. The more people that we can survey, that we have the time and money and manpower to take a bigger survey, the more representative our survey is going to be of the actual population. So let's determine how to apply the third basic step in our statistical study in this situation, which is going to be our step here for calculating the sample statistic, identifying which one is of interest. So the sample statistic of interest is the percentage of male college students in the sample that play chess. So that's our target. That's what we want to calculate here. So there it is. There's D. And now we should determine how to apply the fourth basic step in the statistical study. This is actually where we should use the sample statistic as an estimate for the population value of the percentage of male college students that play chess at least once per week, and then use the methods of statistics, usually inferential statistics, to determine how good that estimate is using something like confidence intervals and things like that. But that would be what we would do here. That's answer C. And the researcher should use, last question, determine how to apply the fifth basic step in statistical study for the situation. Choose a correct answer below. So the researcher should use the methods of statistics to determine the quality of the estimate of the population parameter and draw conclusions based on this estimate accordingly. We're going to talk about that later with something that we call hypothesis testing. We do a lot of that when we get into quality assurance and quality control issues and things like that. Let's look at our second example here. We're only going to have 2 examples. So describe how you would apply the 5 basic steps in a statistical study to the following issue. Recognizing that overloading roller coasters would lead to unsafe rides, you want to determine the average or mean weight of coaster passengers. So let's go ahead and ask these questions. Let's determine how to apply the first basic step of the statistical study in this situation. So the first step is to identify our population and our goal. So the population is all roller coaster passengers. And the researcher's goal is to estimate the mean weight of this population. So that's C. Now let's determine how to apply the second basic step in a statistical study in this situation. Choose the correct answer. So the researcher should choose a sample of coaster passengers, B, C. Then determine how to apply the third basic step in this statistical study in this situation. So that would be to weigh each coaster passenger. The sample statistic of interest is the mean weight of the coaster passengers in the sample. So that's B. So we're going to gather data and we're going to turn that data into a statistic that we can use to make an inference about the population. Let's determine how to apply the fourth basic step in a statistical study in this situation. So our fourth step would be that the researcher should use the sample statistic to make an inference about the average weight of all coaster passengers, which is C. And then lastly, let's determine how to apply the fifth basic step in the statistical study in the situation. And that is going to be that the researcher should form a conclusion about the average weight of all coaster passengers based on the likely value of the population parameter. And we're going to use that again, probably with a confidence interval. We have our sample statistic, and we would be able to find our margin of error, and we'd give a confidence interval. All right. So again, here's the 5 basic steps we've been talking about here. Step 1 is to state the goals of your study precisely, and that is, you need to determine the population you want to study and exactly what you want to learn about it. Step 2 is to choose a representative sample of the population. Step 3 is to collect raw data from the sample and summarize that data by finding sample statistics of interest, things like means, right? Standard deviations, percentages of people that responded favorably or unfavorably, things like that. So, and then use the sample statistics to make inferences about the population. So that's it for this video, and we'll come back next time and talk about 1.2 Objective 1. See you for the next video.